There is a version of you that already exists in potential, wired into your biology, shaped by your habits, and waiting for the right conditions to emerge. It's not a distant fantasy. It's not reserved for a select few. It's encoded in the way your brain and body respond to challenge, repetition, and focus. The question is not whether that version exists. The question is whether you are willing to align your daily behaviors with the systems that bring it forward. Your nervous system is constantly adapting. Every thought you repeat, every action you perform, every moment you choose discomfort over ease is a signal. These signals reshape neural circuits. They strengthen some pathways while weakening others. That means who you are is not fixed. It is trained, it is conditioned, it is built, one deliberate action at a time. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for the emotional surge that makes effort feel easy. But motivation is unreliable. It rises and falls based on sleep, stress, nutrition, and countless external factors. Discipline, however, is a trained response. It is the ability to act in alignment with your goals regardless of how you feel in the moment. And that ability is rooted in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and impulse control. Each time you follow through on something difficult, you strengthen that system. Becoming your best version requires understanding that discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that growth is occurring. When you feel resistance, when your mind tries to pull you back toward what is familiar, that is your brain trying to conserve energy. It prefers predictable patterns. It prefers habits that require minimal effort. But the moment you override that impulse, you create a shift. You teach your system that you are in control. There is a powerful mechanism in your brain involving dopamine, often misunderstood as a chemical of pleasure. In reality, dopamine is about anticipation and pursuit. It is released when you are moving towards something meaningful. If you learn to attach dopamine not to the outcome, but to the effort itself, you fundamentally change your relationship with work. You begin to crave the process. You begin to find satisfaction in showing up, in pushing through resistance, in doing what most people avoid. This is where most people fail. They focus only on results. They delay their sense of reward until the goal is achieved. But that creates a fragile system because results take time. And without reinforcement, the brain loses motivation. Instead, you need to reward the behavior. You need to recognize the act of showing up as the win. When you do that consistently, you build a feedback loop that sustains long-term growth. Your environment matters more than your willpower. The cues around you shape your behavior in ways you often don't notice. If your environment is filled with distractions, your attention will fragment. If it is structured for focus, your performance will improve. This is not about being perfect. It is about reducing friction. Make the actions you want to take easier. Make the actions you want to avoid harder. Small adjustments in your environment can create massive shifts in your outcomes. That leap, nutrition, and physical movement are not optional. They are foundational. Your brain's ability to focus, regulate emotions, and make decisions depends on these systems. When you are sleep deprived, your prefrontal cortex becomes less effective. That means weaker discipline, poorer judgment, and increased impulsivity. When your nutrition is inconsistent, your energy fluctuates. When your body is inactive, your stress levels rise. If you want to operate at your highest level, you must treat your body as the system that supports your mind. Stress is often seen as something to avoid. But stress, when managed correctly, is a tool. Acute stress can enhance focus and performance. It can sharpen your attention and increase your resilience. The key is recovery. Without recovery, stress becomes damaging. With recovery, it becomes adaptive. This means you need cycles, periods of intense effort followed by periods of rest. That is how growth occurs, both physically and mentally. Consistency is more important than intensity. It is not about doing everything perfectly for a short period of time. It is about doing the right things repeatedly, even when the results are not immediately visible. Each repetition strengthens neural pathways. Each repetition reinforces identity. Over time, these small actions compound into something significant. Identity is a powerful driver of behavior. When you see yourself as someone who follows through, who embraces challenge, who prioritizes growth, your actions begin to align with that belief. But identity is not declared. It is earned. It is built through evidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce that identity. Every time you break it, you weaken it. You are not defined by your past actions, but you are shaped by your current ones. That means change is always possible. It does not require a complete overhaul. It requires a shift in direction. A commitment to act differently, even in small ways. Those small changes accumulate. They create momentum. And momentum is what carries you forward when motivation fades. There will be moments when progress feels slow, when the effort seems disproportionate to the results. This is where patience becomes critical. Your brain is adapting beneath the surface. Neural circuits are being reshaped. But those changes take time to manifest externally. If you quit during this phase, you interrupt the process. If you persist, you reach a point where the results begin to accelerate. Comparison is a distraction. It pulls your focus away from your own process and places it on outcomes you cannot control. Everyone is operating under different conditions, different constraints, different timelines. The only comparison that matters is between who you are today and who you were yesterday. That is where real progress is measured. Attention is your most valuable resource. Where you direct it determines the quality of your life. In a world filled with constant stimulation, the ability to focus deeply is becoming increasingly rare, but it is also increasingly valuable. Training your attention is like training a muscle. It requires effort, it requires repetition, and it requires removing distractions that weaken it. You cannot rely on feeling ready. Readiness is often an illusion. Action creates readiness. When you begin, even imperfectly, you generate momentum. That momentum builds confidence. And that confidence makes the next step easier. Waiting for the perfect moment only delays progress. There's a concept known as friction. It refers to anything that makes an action more difficult to start or sustain. Your goal should be to reduce friction for positive behaviors and increase it for negative ones. This is a practical strategy. It is not about willpower. It is about design. Structure your life in a way that supports your goals. Failure is not a signal of inadequacy. It is data. It provides information about what works and what does not. When you approach failure with curiosity instead of judgment, you accelerate learning, you refine your approach, you become more effective over time. Your internal dialogue matters. The way you speak to yourself influences your behavior. If your self-talk is negative, it creates resistance. If it is constructive, it supports action. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means framing it in a way that promotes growth. Instead of focusing on what you lack, focus on what you can control. Energy management is more important than time management. You can have time, but without energy, it is useless. Understanding when you are most alert, when your focus is strongest, and when you need rest allows you to optimize your performance. Align your most important tasks with your peak energy periods. The process of becoming your best version is not linear. There will be setbacks. There will be days when you fall short. That is part of the process. What matters is your response. Do you stop or do you adjust and continue? Progress is built on resilience, the ability to recover and move forward. There is no single moment where everything changes. There is no instant transformation. It is a gradual process, a series of small decisions made consistently over time. Each decision may seem insignificant on its own, but together they create something powerful. You are capable of more than you realize, not because of some abstract belief, but because of the way your brain and body are designed. They are built to adapt, built to learn, built to improve. But that potential is only realized through action. Every day presents an opportunity to reinforce the behaviors that move you forward, an opportunity to strengthen your discipline, an opportunity to align your actions with your goals. These opportunities are not always obvious. They often appear in the form of challenges, discomfort, and effort. The version of you that you want to become is not waiting for perfect conditions. It is built in imperfect ones. It is built when you choose to act despite uncertainty, when you choose effort over ease, when you choose growth over comfort. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more of who you are capable of being. Stripping away the habits, the distractions, and the patterns that hold you back, and reinforcing the ones that move you forward. The path is clear, not easy, but clear. It is built on consistent action, deliberate practice, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. It is supported by systems, habits, and an understanding of how your brain works. Each step you take matters. Each action you repeat matters. Each moment you choose alignment over avoidance matters. Because these are the moments that shape who you become.